Hello and welcome to Who Wore It Better, where I review Raw and Smackdown back-to-back and try and figure out which show won for the week. Well, it's the Raw and Smackdown after Summerslam, and today I was feeling a bit adventurous and decided to comb my bangs over to the left. Let me know what you think about that look in the comment section. Raw opens up with a standing boo-vation for the new Universal Champion Roman Reigns. There's a "You suck" chant, which then morphs into a "You still suck" chant after Roman reiterates the fact that he beat Brock Lesnar and slayed the Beast and all that. Reigns says he's going to be a fighting champion. He's going to start with the man who deserved a rematch ever since he dropped the belt due to injury 2 years ago, Finn Balor. Finn comes out, and by the way, fans are gaga for that idea, by the way. Finn comes out, he answers the challenge, they shake hands. That's when Constable Corbin comes out, just takes a big old dump over everything, saying that match is not going to happen. And by the way, he says that the match with Demon Balor last night also stricken for the record books, and he's going to be fighting Finn Balor, the man, tonight, and the fans boo that. And then Roman says, they're booing you dumbass. And, people always say that people need to talk more naturally in promos, and I do like when Roman, as crass as the insults are, when he calls like Samoa Joe fat ass, or when he calls Baron Corbin a dumbass or whatever, says bitch every now and then, it does sound like, more natural than the stuff we hear in the traditional canned promos. And so, that's how a lot of people talk. They'll curse every once in a while when they speak. So yeah, I'm all for Roman Reigns kind of being that kind of laid back, brash kind of insult guy. I think it works for him. Corbin and Roman have a stare down, then Kurt Angle comes out and says that Balor-Reigns match for the title will be happening in the main event. Meanwhile, Corbin's taking on Bobby Lashley right here and now. They have a bit of a match. There's a Rusev Day chant, and there's a boring chant as well, which I think is a bit of a disservice. I mean, it wasn't a great match, but also I don't think it was bad enough to be considered boring. It wasn't great. Maybe it was boring. I don't know. At one point, the referee just has his gloves on, and I don't know when somebody bled. Like, I don't even know where the blood was or who's bleeding, but apparently a couple minutes in, someone's bleeding, because by the end of the match, I can see a couple of blood drops on the canvas, but I'm like, I can't tell who's bleeding at all. When did this happen? I don't even know what's going on. Lashley hits the Constable with a move similar to the big ending to win the matchup. That is the last we'll see of Lashley on the evening, because midway through the match, his bandana fell off, and everyone knows that after a few minutes of that, he'll turn into a pumpkin, so he has to run and hide. Meanwhile, that's not the last we'll be seeing of the Constable tonight. Backstage, Paul Heyman shows up and tries to make an appeal for a rematch at Hell in a Cell, and Kurt Angle says, forget about it. Every once in a while I can still pull out a funny delivery of a line years later. As much as I think you could get a decent Hell in a Cell match out of Reigns and Lesnar for the Universal Championship, let's not do it then. I don't want to see that match right now. Let's just move on and come back. Let's put a pin in it and table this for later. A 6-woman tag match as Ember Moon, Bayley, and Sasha Banks take on the Riot Squad. At one point in the match, Ember Moon goes for a suicide dive and almost misses her target. She was almost a little bit short there. There's a big "We Want Sasha" chant as Bayley's taking all the heat. It's certainly a more exciting matchup than Corbin and Lashley, I'll say that much. Ruby takes out Sasha with the Riot Kick after some distraction on the outside for her to win the match for her team. This was some good work with the gals. Hour 2 begins with a promo from Triple H, a rare appearance by this man. He gets a nice little NXT chant as he makes his way out there. He says that weekends like this make him want to be the game again. He talks about his upcoming match in Melbourne for the Super Showdown with The Undertaker. He says at first he didn't want to fight The Undertaker because that match at WrestleMania 28, the end of an era Hell in a Cell match, changed everything for himself, Taker, and HBK. Then all of a sudden he says he will wrestle The Undertaker if Taker becomes the Phenom one more time, and he says the era is back. I thought it was kind of a confusing promo because he says the match at Mania changed everything and made everything sad. So first he says he doesn't want to wrestle Taker, and then all of a sudden he wants to do it again because he's gonna wrestle The Undertaker, and I guess that will bring back the not sad feelings? I don't know. At least he believed in what he was saying, and I guess that's half the battle. Dean Ambrose has his first match in 8 months as he takes on Dolph Ziggler in singles action here. Ambrose rocking a bit of a changed up repertoire in this match. I don't think I saw that rope rebound clothesline spot once the entire match, which is a big improvement. Seth and Drew are on the outside, and they get it on, and there's a bunch of fighting on the outside as well. Seth runs into the ring so he can dive out of it onto Drew, and that distraction allows Dean to block the DDT attempt and turn it into the Dirty Deeds to win the match. It's good to see Dean Ambrose back in action. Well, apparently someone's listening to me, because at my Summerslam review I mentioned how odd it was that Elias seemed to be demoted by having his performances on stage instead of in the ring. Well, Monday he was back in the middle of the ring, and as Qatar didn't break this time, he starts to play, and then Kurt Hawkins interrupts him and says that he wants him in a match, and he wants Elias to be the first one to break the losing streak that Kurt's been on for months and months at this point. They have a little match. Kurt gets some hope spots. There's a big "Let's Go Hawkins" chant, but ultimately he loses from Elias and the Drift ripped away. So Elias wins and Kurt loses yet again. You know, that Gramercy Theater performance might have got canceled due to poor ticket sales, but you know what? Elias is always performing in front of a packed house on Monday Night Raw. And I guess someone's been reading my diary where I've said I've clearly wanted more of this, because now we've got AOP versus Titus Worldwide again. For fuck's sake, let's kill this already. AOP wins handily after a bit of a squash match. They take out Titus early on, and it's pretty much 2-on-1 on Apollo. They hit him with the last chapter to win. The only new information we got from this segment was before the match, you see Apollo and Dana Brooke flirting backstage, and that was pretty much it. And then, like, you know, Dana's getting a little touchy with Apollo after the match is over, trying to, you know, revive him and stuff. But I feel you could have established that there's about a half dozen other ways you could have told that story without having this match again. You could have had him go against a different team. You could have just had the backstage segment and that was it. I don't know. Do we need this match again? It's time for a championship celebration for the new women's champion, Ronda Rousey. It's hosted by Stephanie McMahon because of course it is. All the other women on the roster, sans Nia Jax, who's conspicuous in her absence, are standing around the ring. The Bella Twins are there as well, which I thought was interesting. So then Stephanie is taking all this credit for Ronda's success in the company. Ronda interrupts her, and she looks around saying, why are all these women down on the floor? Come on, girls, let's get up on the apron. We'll share this moment together. Let's further fawn over and pander this whole division some more as we get ready for this historic first ever women's pay-per-view happening. Then Stephanie puts down Ronda again, tries to divide her with the other women, saying she's just going to break all your arms. You're doomed. You're doomed. All your arms are doomed. And then Ronda says, I'm not going to break everyone's arms, just the ones who deserve it. And then she just puts the armbar on Stephanie. So the heels tend to Stephanie on the outside, the faces are celebrating with Ronda, and that was pretty much the segment. It was just like this bland version of the Evolution announcement and a bland version of what happened in the Raw after Mania when Ronda, put Stephanie in the armbar the first time on television, that is. So this segment didn't really do it for me. It was just more that pandering that they do for the women's division, and it was just, not a very strong way for Ronda to kick off her new championship reign. I would have liked to see something a little more tangible where a new opponent is announced, but we didn't get that. We have a pair of singles matches between the B Team and the Revival. First off, Bo Dallas and Scott Dawson. The biggest highlight of this whole match is when the crowd does the wave out of the commercial break. Dawson wins the match. Then we go right into Curtis Axel versus Dash Wilder. The fans keep the wave going for a little bit, but it dies pretty quickly. Dash wins the match that's far more competitive than Bo and Scott. So the B Team lose the two singles matches, but they're still undefeated in tag team action, so that's what keeps them going and motivated. So, the B Team, the B stands for optimism. Backstage, Renee Young asks Roman Reigns if he has any reservations on defending the title tonight. Why would he, when he was the one who said he was going to be defending the title in the first place at the top of the show? Also backstage, Stephanie and Corbin are in the trainer's room and Stephanie is nursing her arm. The two of them attack Kurt Angle's performance as general manager over the last year and a half. Stephanie forces Kurt to take a vacation, and then Baron Corbin will now be the acting general manager. I am not looking forward to this run. I really hope that he's a lot less feckless and a lot more efficient and effective as an authority figure than he has been as the constable. Because I just said, last week or 2 weeks ago, he's been getting his dick kicked in figuratively every week and being shown to be totally ineffective as an authority figure, because he's always getting trumped by Kurt Angle and then other wrestlers for that matter. So maybe now he'll have a little more authority and a little more power and won't be punked out so often. I think it's okay for authority figures. You harken back to Vince McMahon versus Steve Austin, when Vince, he would be humiliated on a regular basis, but he did still get stuff done, in the long run as a character. So I hope we see some efficiency by Corbin. Main event time for the Universal Championship as Roman Reigns defends against Finn Balor. Boy, it's nice to say Roman Reigns defends the Universal Championship other than saying Brock Lesnar. It feels nice, People might disagree, but whatever. Anyway, it's a really good match here. I think it's the third time these two have wrestled since 2016, because the beginning of the brand split 2.0, Finn beat Roman on Raw in his first main roster matchup, and then several months later, I believe it was last year, when Roman beat Finn in a singles match. So now this is going to be the rubber match here. Great match. Wonderful work by these guys. I was really into it. Near the end, Braun Strowman's music hits. He interrupts, and so Roman's distracted. Finn tries to capitalize with the coup de grace, but he misses. Roman hits the spear to win the match, retain the championship, so he wins the third contest against Finn Balor. Braun decides to be cashing in. He beats up Roman. He's going to cash it in. JoJo makes the announcement, but before the bell can ring, you hear the Shield Shield's music play. And so then out comes Seth Rollins and Dean Ambrose in the Shield attire. They stand by Roman, and the three of them all beat the hell out of Braun. They hit him with a triple powerbomb on the announce table after Braun tries to fight back and everything, but ultimately it's just too much. So the Shield stand tall here. I think it was a really cool closing moment. It is disappointing that, Finn didn't get to shock the world, or that Braun didn't get to cash in for the second night in a row, but I mean, this is in anticipation. They're building to something happening when Braun eventually does get to cash in. I think once they do pull the trigger on that, it is going to be a big deal, and so they want the fans to be left wanting more. One of two things is happening here with the Shield, and we aren't going to know really until next week on Raw. So it's either Roman is turning heel and Seth and Dean are turning heel with him to try to protect him in the championship, which I think is awesome, or there's the nightmare scenario that's been reported on the interwebs, and everyone knows how reliable and true everything you read on the internet is, where basically the Shield's been reformed so that Roman can glom off of the face pops from Seth and Dean, so he can be kind of protected in that way. So it's like the fans have to cheer because he's part of the Shield. It's basically a repeat of what we saw in their last Shield reunion that went so well the first time. I really hope it's not the latter of those two things, because that is not going to work long term. I think fans will see through that pretty quickly. I just think that the heel Shield, the healed, let's call them, I think that is a more viable, interesting thing than this idea of Roman staying a babyface or being some kind of tweener, and the other guys of the Shield also being babyfaces and just kind of helping lift him up in that regard. That to me just seems very lazy. We'll see what happens. Smackdown begins with Miz and Maurice making their way to the ring. Miz looks very sad. He's tearing up. His eyes are red. He's choked up. He's trying to get the words out. He says, "It's with a heavy heart that I announce my retirement from ever wrestling Daniel Bryan again." Ooh, you got us with a swerve, you sneaky Miz. You've been listening to Alexa Bliss and Carmella's promos, haven't you? Oh, they're the masters at that. Anyway, Miz gloats about his win at SummerSlam. Daniel Bryan interrupts, calls him a coward and a wannabe Hollywood actor cosplaying as a wrestler. Maurice cuts him off and calls him Daniel Bella, and that prompts Brie Bella to come out. She runs down the ramp, she gets in the ring, punches Miz in the face, and gets a few more shots in before he runs off. Then Daniel announces it's going to be a mixed tag match at Hell in a Cell between he and Brie versus Miz and Maurice. I hope, which I'm excited about. I like this development. I hope they can stretch this feud out a little bit longer than just this quarter of the year. There's certainly money to be made by not cranking all these matches out in a short burst. Let's get this thing going to Mania. I know it's very wishful thinking, but I think that would actually be a really cool way to have this thing end, like I've mentioned before. But yeah, let's not totally blow it right away with these rematches here. But I think it's very interesting. Between this angle and the AJ Styles Samoa Joe thing, SmackDown's all about family and wives right now. Randy Orton and Jeff Hardy have their first singles match on SmackDown since 2007, according to the announcers here. Near the end of the match, Randy's got Jeff on the apron. He starts pulling out the ear hole again like he did a few weeks ago, and it never gets any easier watching it. But Jeff manages to fight back. He stomps Orton's nuts in to cause a DQ, but they keep brawling into the crowd, into the tech area. Jeff hits a big old swanton off of this big crate onto Orton through a table. For a guy who's got horrible back problems, he seems to have no problem taking ridiculous swantons onto ring aprons, onto guys through tables and stuff. He's just dishing those out left and right, this man with a horribly injured back. So yeah, it was a good little segment here. It's cool to see Jeff get some fire back and finally get get one over Randy Orton here. I'm guessing this is going to build to Hell in a Cell at this point. Again, I keep preaching to the choir here. The whole thing with the bad back and he's still wrestling at a high level just confuses me, but I have such admiration for him doing that. Naomi takes on Peyton Royce of the Iconics. It's been a while since we've seen these ladies on SmackDown, it feels like. Corey Graves throws some shade toward Dave Meltzer on commentary when the Iconics make their entrance. Good work by both women here in this matchup. Naomi gets distracted when she beats up Billie Kay on the outside for a little bit. Peyton hits a fisherman suplex to win the match. Becky Lynch breaks her silence after the beatdown she gave to Charlotte after their Women's Championship match at SummerSlam, and she cuts a big ol' heel heel promo here. She is just like, you know, you might call this promo straight fire in that regard. She heels on Charlotte, she heels on the fans who are not buying this shit, and they're still cheering her for everything she says. She even says, like, why haven't you guys said I'm the greatest wrestler of all time? Just completely delusional stuff she's saying at some points here, but it is a very passionate, strong promo here by Becky. Some of her best work, and I like this heel Becky here, even if the fans aren't quite ready to go along with it just yet. But then out comes Charlotte Flair, and it's a big old lady brawl. The two of them are fighting, and then eventually the rest of the women's division on Smackdown come out to try and break it up. It's a big pull-apart brawl. I can't remember the last time I've seen a female pull-apart on WWE programming, so it's kind of cool to see that. They're fighting, they're pulled apart again, they're fighting and stuff. Oh, and Asuka was there too, which is nice to see her for a change. Yeah, really strong segment. I really enjoyed the promo and the post-promo brawling. I thought it was great all around. Up next, Rusev and Lana take on Andrade Cien Almas and Zelina Vega in a rematch from SummerSlam's pre-show. This match much improved from Sunday, probably because they were given more time to work with here. The match ends with Aiden English coming out and for once not costing Rusev and Lana a match, but actually distracting Almas. And so what happens is Rusev capitalizes, hits Almas with the accolade, and Almas taps out. So the ledger seems to be balanced now with Rusev and Aiden English for now, or is it? We'll see where this goes. In a selfie promo, the U.S. champion Shinsuke Nakamura welcomes us to the United States of Nakamerica. Well, you know what? It's no Kevin Owens America, but maybe it'll grow on me. AJ Styles and Renee Young are in the Mean Gene position here for a promo. AJ wants to talk about what happened at SummerSlam. He doesn't get very far, though, before he's interrupted by Samoa Joe, who pulls him off the stage, puts him in the coquina clutch, and knocks him out. Then he gets on the microphone and gets right in the camera, looks right in the lens, and calls out Wendy Styles, and says, Daddy went to sleep already. He's already gone night-night. And that was, more psychological warfare from Samoa Joe. It was a brief segment, but very powerful. Backstage, Carmella gets a rematch for next week with Charlotte for the title, and then R-Truth shows up and still wants a match with her. He's just a very confused man. You think after all these years, some friends of his would pull him aside and just try and help the poor guy. Main event time for the Smackdown tag titles as the Bludgeon Brothers defend against the New Day once again, this time with no DQ rules. It is a rematch from SummerSlam. Now 2 of the 4 matches on the show were rematches from Sunday, which is a little disheartening. Kofi takes all the big bumps in this one. He eats an office chair, gets one thrown at him by Harper. He apparently was also kicked in the soul, according to commentary. He takes a crucifix bomb onto a bridging ladder. So yeah, he's taking all the big hits here. More of the high impact, fast-paced work we saw from them on Sunday, only now weapons have been involved. Xavier hits an elbow drop off the top rope, like more than 3/4 of the way across the ring onto Harper through the table. And the New Day win and become 5-time tag team champions across both brands. A great main event, great work by both teams, and the New Day, as many chances as they got, and as nice as it would be to see more tag teams get opportunities, it just feels right to have the New Day with the championships again. Time now for me to decide which show won for the week, Raw or SmackDown. This week, I gotta give the nod to SmackDown once again. Yes, some of you people in the comment section might accuse me of having a SmackDown bias, but if I were to pick Raw this week, or God forbid, pick Raw 2 weeks in a row somewhere, the same people might accuse me of having a Raw bias, so really, who's to say what's true? Here's the thing, Raw just didn't, there wasn't a whole lot going on this episode of Raw. For a show after the biggest show of the year, which got a lot of people talking, Raw didn't really do a whole lot to capitalize on that mania, so to speak. No pun intended for WrestleMania. But it's like, what really happened on Raw that was like worth talking about this week? The Shield reuniting and the Roman Reigns Finn Balor match, that was pretty much it, and that was at the very end. The 6-woman tag was probably a distant second to some other cool thing that happened on the show, to me at least. Triple H's promo, like way distant third. But the Rousey title celebration was kind of a stinker for me. Titus and Apollo versus the Authors of Pain, yet again, why are they doing this? So, not a whole lot of cons for this week for Raw, but not a whole lot of pros either. Just a lot of stuff that's kind of in the middle for me. Just kind of like, It was like the color gray. That's kind of what I got from Raw this week. SmackDown did bug me with their use of SummerSlam rematches so close to the show, but in each of those cases, the matches built off of and improved upon what we saw on Sunday, so it could be forgiven. Lots of great promo stuff on SmackDown was what really put over the edge for me. I loved the Becky and Charlotte stuff in the middle of the show, even though the fans aren't quite reacting as one would kind of expect from where they're going with this. That's probably more the fault of the company's booking over the last several months than anything else. Let me know what you guys thought about Raw and SmackDown in the comments section below, and be sure to vote which show you thought was better in the gimmick in the upper right hand corner of your screen. Be sure to thumbs up this video if you like it, subscribe to Wrestling with Regret, buy the t-shirts at ProWrestlingTees.com, and check out Patreon.com/WrestlingWithRegret for exclusive perks and bonus content. I'm Brian Zane, and I'll see you next time.